watch it ride, smoking green. No block, no drag, just pure machine. Come show us your truck, we'll make it pristine. We just wanna know, can your diesel out cold? Bring something dirty, we'll turn it to gold.
Okay, in fact, let me switch to my main camera first. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Before we get started, make sure you subscribe to the DPF Guys channel on YouTube so you don't miss any of our future content. And if you can spare about 0.3 of a second to tap that like button wherever you are, that helps us a ton and keeps the algorithm happy. So for those of you who are new to this channel, new to us, we are DPF Guys. I am James, your DPF guy, and we focus 100% on diesel aftertreatment services for anything with the diesel engine and an emission system. Most of our customers are fleets, mechanics, shops, dealerships, but also owner-operators. We love the owner-operators, take really good care of those guys. But we also service after-treatment for diesel passenger vehicles, your Mercedes, BMW, Chevy Cruze, for example, and off-road equipment like tractors, excavators, earth movers, skid steers, and more. Forklifts, by the way, too. We even handle the stuff that doesn't move. And that's going to be stationary equipment, generators, pumps, rock crushers, and beyond. Like to say that if it has a DPF, we can clean it. Call or text us at 404-999-1361 for more info. Again, 404-999-1361. Shoot us a text, drop us a call. And so, all right, that's enough of that fun stuff. I'm going to surprise people that are familiar with this channel a little bit. We're trying something new. I'm currently live on TikTok as well as YouTube. I've been trying different stuff, going live on TikTok after, going live on TikTok before, but we're going to do it on both. And while you can definitely, I'm going to switch over and show the comments here, the chat. While you can definitely type me a question via wherever you're watching this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually flip over to the TikTok screen, and I'm going to be talking to the people who are watching me on TikTok live right now. And you're watching me. Well, I don't know. We're all watching each other, I guess. But check this out. Ready, set, go. Okay. So right now you are seeing what people are seeing on TikTok live, and I've already gotten some great questions on here, and I want to go through them right now. We've got a lot of great kind of fun content on TikTok, but I want to do more serious and long stuff on YouTube. If you're somebody who likes to read more than watch, or maybe a little bit of both, don't be afraid to jump over to dpfguys.com. I'm manually doing my search engine optimization now. If you go to dpfguys.com, that is our website, obviously. We've just dropped quite a few new blogs talking about the history of the big manufacturers, talking about clean air fleet additive. In fact, I'm going to shamelessly plug this, because this is going to be the one thing that will keep your truck running better and make it so you have to see me less and less. Now, of course, you can come in and visit me in between cleanings, but instead of getting those DPFs cleaned every 200,000 miles, you're maybe going to go 400, 500, 600,000 miles with proper maintenance and a good fuel additive, such as Clean Air Fleet. I'll be talking about that again, so probably making you sick by talking about it. But all right, what do we have here? Larry Shorb, sharp guy, West Coast, I think. Oh, I forget where you are, Larry. And he's definitely been a great resource for some questions and answers here. So Larry did ask, what is the fuel additive I have been recommending? Now, I do recommend and I sell Clean Air Fleet. Clean Air Fleet's actually made in Wisconsin, where I'm from, so I've got a bit of a soft spot in my heart for Clean Air Fleet. But awesome company. The two guys that founded the company and run it on a day-to-day basis are brothers, Clint and Kurt Brunel. They might actually be on this live someplace. If not, shout out to them. Good cheesehead men, and just downright, straight shooters, and definitely a cornucopia of diesel knowledge. Um, the and oh, hey, shout out to Paul Martin, my good friend, who and roommate for a number of years. I miss you, Paul. Um, but thanks for jumping on YouTube. And if anybody else wants to get over to YouTube and watch, look for DPF Guys on YouTube. Anyway, um, so Clean Air Fleet is not the only fuel additive. Now, I know Clint and Kurt, would prefer it if I just said, "Oh, Clean Air Fleet's the only way to go." But there are people out there that have very good luck with Pittsburgh Power, max mileage, Pittsburgh Power. Hot Shot Secret's another one, but Clean Air Fleet's definitely in that, in that realm. Um, a fuel additive like Clean Air Fleet is going to get you. I mean, a lot of people promise better fuel economy, a few more miles per gallon, or some fraction of a mile per gallon. Um, I don't, Clint and Kurt from Clean Air Fleet, they don't like to push that or promise that because, honestly, while you often do get an improvement in your fuel economy, it can't be guaranteed because so many variables. Um, Temperature, season, wind, etc. But um, how I look at an additive is, um, you know, you can dump something in your tank, and a typical additive like Clean Air Fleet's going to, like anything, will increase the cost of your fuel because you're adding more to the fuel. You pay for the fuel, you put the additive in. So you're looking at an increase in a price of a gallon of diesel of about 10 or 11 cents. Um, and I know every penny counts, but the goal is that the added fuel economy that you get from the additive will hopefully offset that. So that turns it into a push. But then you have the added benefit of the added lubricity, meaning that your components that are moving in your engine, such as fuel pump and things like that, had that added lubricity that you lose with the ultra low sulfur diesel. And Clean Air Fleet has been, tested to whatever standard that is, and it definitely does help. You get that. You get the increased cetane levels. What's interesting is cetane is basically, how well the fuel goes boom. And there are kind of two different numbers. The fuel that you get from the pump has to maintain a minimum cetane level of 40 units of cetane. The engine in your truck is designed to want to drink 48 or 50 cetane. So there's an 8 or 10 unit gap between the fuel that comes out of the pump and what your engine actually would prefer to burn. Now, it doesn't mean your engine's going to completely die if it's running. Obviously, the 40 cetane is good enough, but you are definitely not giving your truck the level of cetane that it was designed to burn. Now, I believe if you're in Europe, the laws for cetane quality, cetane levels of the actual fuel at the pump needs to match what the engine expects. But you're going to boost your cetane and basically guarantee that, no matter where you get your fuel, you don't have to get premium diesel or high cetane diesel out of the pump, which is quite expensive. Just use the additive and you're good to go. The additive will also drop the water out of your tank, get water out of your fuel, which is a good thing, and just degunk your fuel system, clean out your injectors and everything else. And again, we're talking about people who are just joining. I'm talking about Clean Air Fleet, and we sell it, and I'll kind of explain why I sell it, in just a minute here. But besides all the obvious reasons, and one of the things that you notice when you use a Clean Air Fleet type additive is people will often say, "Hey, I started using that, and then my truck really got sluggish. What's going on?" I'll say, "Check your fuel filter." And what happens is the Clean Air Fleet additive will start breaking down all of that carbon and asphaltene, which is like a goop that builds up in your fuel. Asphaltene is naturally occurring in crude oil. It's produced under heat and pressure. It's not in the diesel that you get out of the pump, but the heat and pressure, which is in your engine, will create asphaltenes, and those will build up, and this will break that down. And when people start treating their fuel, a lot of these contaminants start to come loose and get trapped in the fuel filter, and you change the fuel filter, you're back in business and good to go. So that is the additive I recommend. And again, I'm not going to say anything bad about Pittsburgh Power. People really like it. Not going to say anything bad about Hot Shot Secret. People really say good stuff about that. Oh, I forgot to touch on one more thing about the additive is if you get the fuel to burn, your fuel to burn more completely, it produces less soot. And less soot means more of your fuel is doing what it should be doing, which is going boom and making your truck move, and less of your fuel is being wasted in the form of soot. What soot is just unburned hydrocarbon, unburned diesel. And just like when you have a fire, when the wood's wet or things aren't fully burning, it'll be real smoky and black. But as the fire really gets going and the wood dries out and things really roaring, there'll be very little black smoke coming off of it because it's all being burned. And so when you use a good additive, what you get is better combustion, which means you get more miles per gallon because more of your fuel is actually producing energy to move your truck. You get less soot and crap going out your tailpipe or going down and getting stuck in your DPF. Now that's good for you and your pocketbook and your truck. Not good for me. However, which might be kind of counterintuitive, but I always tell people I hope to see you again, just not too soon. I would much rather have somebody come see me every 500,000 miles than every 100,000 miles or 70,000 miles. Because I'm doing a poor job, which I don't do, but I'm doing a poor job on cleaning their DPF and they're not properly maintaining their truck. Better for my pocketbook, worse for your pocketbook. I'm more concerned about keeping you rolling. There are 3 million trucks on the road. If I only get to see you once every 3 or 4 years versus every 1 or 2 years, that just makes more room for somebody else and gives me more time to take a vacation. Now, Larry also asked the following, which is, I'm going to pin this here. Have you checked EGR cooler soot levels after using the additive? And that is actually really a great question. The answer is no. In fact, I never even thought about it. But I think it would be an excellent idea to do exactly that. In other words, it'd be nice to be able to pull an EGR cooler, clean it completely, get full documentation on the cleaning, and then start using the additive and check that EGR cooler again after 200,000 miles or after a similar number of miles and see what it looks like. Now, my noggin up here in my DPF Guys hat tells me that the EGR cooler should be a lot cleaner, but it'd be great to find out. So I haven't checked that, but Larry, as always, you are a smart boy and you ask good questions. All right. And then here's another great Larry Shore one. I'm getting these things backwards, but so Trucker World, I'm going to answer your question. And in fact, let me pull that one up. Oh, these are great. These are great. Okay, I've got great questions coming in. You guys are awesome. Brian Bond, 100% correct. Hey, Brian, how you doing? Friend of the channel, friend of the DPF Guys, and a friend of mine. Brian, love you a long time. Thanks for joining. So Brian is he knows enough to ask really good questions. So Brian is a gentleman that had, I don't know if he's a gentleman. Can I call you a gentleman, Brian? He had a 2016, still has, I think 2016 Freightliner. And I've talked about this I think somewhere between 1 and 2 million times now. But the 2015 Freightliner Cascadias ate up their one boxes. Now, and that doesn't mean just 2015. So the 2015 model year, which means if somebody's got a 2014, kind of end of the 2014, all of 2015, or the first half of 2016, which would be just all 2015 model year. Allegedly, what happened there was when those things rolled off the line, they had a fuel map that was the that was like, that was no good. And or basically the fuel map was over fueling. It was dumping too much fuel in the cylinder and basically producing too much heat. And the excessive heat in the one box basically kind of left the one box under continuous regen. Um, uh, High heat won't damage the DOCs too much. Those are pretty okay with higher heat. Um, High heat may crack your DPFs, which is kind of a bummer, but at least you can replace the DPFs. But anything over 1200 degrees Fahrenheit that it gets into the SCR will vaporize the catalytic metals in the SCR, and the SCR will stop catalyzing NOx. Hey, in fact, Clint Brunell just joined us on. In fact, let me see if I can overlay this in here. So, one of the owners of Clean Air Fleet just jumped on. In fact, I had to hide my. Hang on a second. I want to hide this. Boom. So if you have any additive questions, you are in luck, because the Clint Burnell, one of the owners of Clean Air Fleet, just jumped on to YouTube. Like I said, go to YouTube and find out. Anyway, I was talking about the 2015 Freightliner. Bad fuel map. It was overfueling. It was producing too much heat. When Freightliner finally figured it out, basically the damage was done. By the time that people that had trucks that were affected with this brought the truck in to get it updated and get the new fuel map uploaded to it, by then the damage had been done. Brian had a 2016 Freightliner. He was having the typical symptom, and the symptom is, first of all, your Freightliner is a 14, 15, or 16. Second of all, it runs really well if it's bobtail, or if your trailer is empty and you're kind of on a flat road and you're not driving against a stiff wind. Everything seems pretty good. And what happens is that the code you'll get is something that says DEF quality. Maybe you get SCR efficiency, NOx conversion, something like that. And what happens is that code will pop up, and you won't notice it. You'll notice the code, but you won't see the cause and effect. It'll pop up, and it'll always pop up when you're pulling some weight up a grade. And what happens, you pull some weight up a grade, you see DEF quality, you see these things, pull over, regen the truck, and then you're pretty much good. Like, what happens is, DEF quality, lights are on the dash, get up over the top of the hill, you pull over, do a regen, and then you get your motoring down the hill. Not a problem, because again, you're going downhill. The truck's not laboring. And then it happens again. What do? You take it to the dealership. Your DEF quality. Maybe you dump out your DEF, put in new DEF. That doesn't fix it. Maybe you put in a new DEF header. That doesn't fix it. Put in a NOx sensor. That maybe fixes it. Or you do these things, and how many people go to the dealership with a trailer that's loaded with 20, 30, 40,000 pounds of crap? You don't. You go in bobtail. And they pull the codes. They're like, oh, you got this going on. You spend $700 on a NOx sensor plus a bunch of labor. $3,000 later, you pull out. And guess what? You're bobtail. And you drive it on the road. Truck's great. Pick up your empty trailer. Truck's great. Load that trailer up. Or you pick up your trailer, and all of a sudden you're going up a hill, bam, comes back on again, around and around and around. And so if somebody calls me and says, I've got a Freightliner and I need my DPFs cleaned, I always ask, what is the year? And if they tell me 2015, 2014, 2016, 14, 15, 16, I say, don't even bother cleaning it. Though, of course, I'll ask what the symptom is. I said, is it the issue that you have poor DEF quality or SCR efficiency or not version? They say yes to any of those or all of the above. Tell them, don't even come see me. Don't even get your DPFs cleaned, because it's not going to fix your problem. You need a new one box. And long story short, Brian ended up with a new one box. He not just only did the new one box, he also got his overhead done, got his valves adjusted, got all that stuff done. Began using the Clean Air Fleet additive. Clint, shout out to you. Actually, Clint is online from Facebook. We're actually streaming on Facebook as well. But Brian also put the Clean Air Fleet. The Clean Air Fleet is an additive company, and I think they're right up there with your Pittsburgh Powers. Clint would argue it's better than Pittsburgh Power, but let's say, let's not argue, so that they're all both good. Hot Shot Secret, let's say that that's kind of the the Coke and Pepsi, and I don't know what the third one is. Um, but or you've got Miller, Coors, and Budweiser. There's always room for three. So he started using the additive, but keep in mind, Clean Air Fleet they produce an additive, but they're actually a systems company. So yes, you can buy the additive, but ideally you'd want to use the full Clean Air Fleet system, which includes a 1 micron bypass oil filter. You leave your oil filter in place, your spin-on oil filter stays in place, but you put this specific and proprietary filtration system on your truck. And what it does is it's a bypass system, so it doesn't filter 100% of the oil all the time. What it's doing is it's taking 10% of your oil. So every hour, the whole idea is that you filter 100% of your oil, and down to 1 micron, and then you pull oil samples every so often, which I forget how often that interval is, but Brian Bond does this. And Brian estimated that the system will pay for itself literally after his, not having to do the first or second oil change they would normally have to do. And what is crazy with this Clean Air Fleet oil bypass filtration system down to 1 micron is that you'll do an oil sample, and the oil in your truck, even after 5,000, 10,000 miles, because of the filtration, will be cleaner, will have less particles in it than the oil did fresh out of the can. And it's just mind boggling. I wouldn't, again, Clint and Kurt explained this all to me. And I'm like, yeah, I'm sure, that makes sense. But until I actually saw it in real life, I didn't believe it myself. So that is pretty darn cool. And they also have a 1 micron full flow fuel filter as well. How I met, if you want to hear the love story here, how I met Clint and Kurt was because of another Clinton Kirker. If you're out there watching, shout out to you, because you're the one who started this mess. He contacted me, I think it was during a TikTok live, and he said, "Hey, I've got a Freightliner Cascadia with a Cummins ISX 15, and I have 480,000 miles on that truck, and it has never called for a parked regen. Should I be worried? Is there something wrong?" And the fact is, I'm like, well, I should be worried because I'm not taking money from you to clean your DPF. What are you doing? Now, I assumed that he had an APU, which he did. But more importantly, he uses the fuel additive. That's how I found out about it. And he uses the oil filtration and the fuel filtration. Last I checked, I think he's approaching 600,000 miles. Not only has he never had to get his DPF clean, the truck still has not called for a parked regen. Now, I would expect that. I mean, I don't know. Is he going to go 800,000 miles before he gets his DPF clean? Is he going to sell his truck before he gets his DPF clean? I have no idea. But I just said, keep on doing what you're doing. And when your truck does call for a park regen, point your truck, towards Atlanta, come in, and let's get that DPF clean. Hey, James, you said yours is doing fine now. Thanks for the help. My pleasure. And Doug, more about the additive here. I'm going to pin that comment. Again, Clean Air Fleet, if you haven't seen it already, smells nice. It works as a cologne. Is about $36.50 a gallon, plus shipping if you need to get it shipped. And a gallon of the Clean Air Fleet will treat 320 gallons of diesel fuel. What we normally would do is the first time someone uses it, we'll double up on it. We'll kind of double it to shock the system. We'll even add the additive directly to the Davco and suck it into the engine, and then let it sit. Let it really, start to dissolve the buildup inside the injectors and everything. But once you are good to go and everything has been treated initially, you're going to have it's going to be 1 gallon for 320 gallons of diesel. That works out to about 4 ounces for every 10 gallons, and the realistic number is adds about 10 cents per every gallon you of diesel you burn, treated diesel. Yeah, Brian Bond, 25%, then park regen. Aha, Sebastian. Okay, now we got the trucker world here. Uh, bu- 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 bu. Larry asked, did he did a hydrogen carbon cleaning test with the HHO guys? Yes, Chris from HHO um, did come over, and I've come with him on a couple of these tests. I have, definitely noticed an improvement in, the turbo will spin slower. Things, I think the best thing the carbon does is it does get the carbon buildup off of the turbo blades and things like that. Um, a a carbon cleaning won't magically make a dirty DPF. That's again with 400,000 miles that magically make it clean, but it will definitely break down the carbon buildup in your system. Um, and so he's a friend of the channel and friends of us. I think the best thing to do would be get your DPF cleaned and then do your carbon cleaning periodically, based upon what the HHO does recommend. Um, okay, so Trucker World, I promise I would answer this question. So Trucker World asks, um, the hey, and Clean Air Fleet just asked, are you doing this on YouTube or TikTok? And the answer to you is yes. Yes, I am actually both. I'm answering the questions from TikTok on the YouTube live. I tell you, it's like Inception. It's a conundrum rolled in an enigma wrapped in a taco shell. But you can, no matter where you're watching, you can ask. So like right now, if you're seeing this, that's actually TikTok. Anyway, so what am I got? So Trucker World, he says 2020 Freightliner Cascadia, 560,000 miles. Should I have the filters cleaned? And my answer would be yes, definitely. You're due. It is highly unlikely that they actually clean the filters. So it's very common when you buy a truck from a fleet that they do all the maintenance except for the bigger stuff, like DPF cleaning. Unless you have documentation that they cleaned or replaced the filters recently. I would do the whole, do the whole one box, which is our preferred way of doing it. It ends up costing about $700 more than just getting the filters cleaned, but you get the whole thing cleaned. It takes all the face plugging off of your DOCs and everything else. So yes, get the filters cleaned. And then the other thing is, and if Larry Shorb, if you're still listening, right around that, that number of miles, the the oil pickup tube, you want to replace that, because it's plastic, it's brittle, will break, and then you're not sipping any oil into your engine, and that's problematic, obviously. And also, you can probably, if it hasn't been done, get an overhead done. Get those valves adjusted. Make sure you've got good compression, and then definitely start using an additive. Um, and then Sebastian goes, hey, I had a customer that used the fuel additive, owner changed and stopped using it. He's got problems now. So yeah, I mean, that's definitely what I've seen happen myself. And some people ask me, is like, well, what if I stop using it? What if Brian Bond, you actually asked me that question. And I said, well, just stop and see what happens. And if you find that your truck runs poorly, start using it again. You're perfectly fine. All right, what else we got here? Red. What the heck? Okay, so Red says, I recently ran into a face plug one box and the DOC disintegrated, plugging the DPF, pressure blew. I have never, now again, that doesn't mean that I'm going to go into the shop tomorrow and not see 3 of these, but I have never seen a DOC fall apart or fail on a one box. Now it's possible. There's probably a lot more. There's probably some nastiness going on there, but what'll happen is those DOCs will get really face plugged, especially if you've got low compression in one or more of the cylinders, you've got dirty air filters, you have problems with combustion, and you're pooping out soot and pooping out soot, and pretty soon you've got just a layer of soot on that DOC. In fact, I'm just looking over here to see what. Hey, Clean Air Fleet, I'm doing this on YouTube. Yes, I mean YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, um, smoke signals, etc. So I'm everywhere. Anyway, uh, I've seen some really face plug DOCs. Sometimes they get so plugged up that um, the pressure will actually slide them forward. The one of the DOCs has the DOC outlet temperature sensor poked down there, and the DOC is like there, and then it starts to push forward, push forward, push forward. It'll bend that pressure sensor right off. Um, and but we have a way to we have a jig that we use to push them back into place, and then they're just fine. But we can definitely get that face plugging off. If you've got a really dirty one box, we can definitely help you, um, and bring that thing back. And we can even put the whole thing in our oven and burn all that soot out if we need to. So Red Man, I would love to see some pictures of that face plugged one box. Oh yeah, here's okay. This is gonna sound like he is pulling your leg. Brian Bond says, "I no longer change oil at 10,000 miles or even 20,000 miles." He does pull an oil sample, which costs $30, less than an oil change, and check the quality of the oil. The gentleman, Clint and Kurt at Clean Air Fleet, will help him read the results if need be. Um, and so what Brian is doing is, I mean, that fuel, that bypass oil, 1 micron oil filtration system, ain't cheap. It's just the filter housing and everything like that. I think, in the hoses, Brian, you might have gotten hosed on the hoses, but they're definitely good. You got some good hoses there. Um, Brian actually mounted his filter back, kind of underneath the catwalk on the frame rail, um, which is a really good idea because we were thinking about actually mounting it in the engine, but it was really close to the tires, and we thought if we had a blowout of a steer tire and that blowout, that explosion of the rubber damage the fuel filter, it could cause more stuff. So he stuck it behind the cab, had to buy some longer hoses to run the oil through. But that makes it really easy for him to change it and keeps it safe from any damage due to a blowout. Yeah, so um, yeah, so Larry just is yet again the yeah the balloon, the DPFs. I tell you, I think we probably could have fixed that. Um, so Larry, you are 100% right, and like I believe, I trust but verify. I believe the stuff that Clint and Kurt tell me, but when I actually hear the real life stories, I'm like, these guys aren't pulling my leg. Strangely enough, I mean, what they tell me is 100% true. Um, so Larry just mentioned that he's got customers that's oil changes at 90,000 miles because they do oil samples and don't change it till they need to change it. Filters at 45K. That customer would probably really benefit from the Clean Air Fleet 1 micron air filters. Now, if you want to get a hold of Clean Air Fleet, go to cleanairfleet.com, talk to Clint and Kurt, and they can definitely help you out. Now, while we are a dealer for Clean Air Fleet, we sell the additive, we provide the filtration kits and everything like that. One of my goals is to get as many people as possible um, selling the stuff because right now there are not many people that are dealers of it. The uh, and which means that it has to be shipped very often, um, and so it'd be nice to have other people sell it so people can get it without having to pay for the shipping. Um, so yes, get the one box cleaned on that Freightliner. Think about getting an overhead done soon. You're due, and replace that oil pickup tube, and you are good to go. Um, All right, what do you see? Here's another one. Do you use water before you bake? Yeah, I usually put some in the bong. You're not talking about that. Um, so, yes, it's actually, so we use compressed air, vacuum, which is enough to get 75% of the crap out of a filter, but still leaves 25% in there. And you want to get it all out, because if you leave anything in the filter over time, that will sinter, will bake into place, and then it doesn't come out for anybody. Um, we use compressed air and vacuum. We do that until we can't get anything else out, and then it goes to the flush cabinet. The flush cabinet is not a power washer. No, no, no. Do not use a power washer to clean your DPFs. And I don't care how someone tells me a story about I've been doing this since rocks were soft. No, I can, anytime we get a DPF in that's been cleaned with the power washer, it is failed. So it's not a power washer, but it's we do at like kind of a medium pressure, about 118 psi, and a very high flow rate, about 8 gallons per minute. And that water flow is in there, and it flushes out all of that uh, real stubborn ash and everything that's stuck in there. And then we follow it up with more compressed air. The compressed air chases out the water, chases everything else out. Again, we're watching this with a camera, making sure that the water coming through that filter is completely clean. We then use air to dry it out as much as we can. That goes into a drying station, where we don't fully desiccate it. We just get it so it's not, it might be damp, but not, bone dry. And then from there, it goes into the oven. We have a specific program we use in the oven, where we ramp it up to one temperature, and we bring it up to about 750. Oh, hold on a second here. I had to verify that I was a real person. Okay, so then, and we bring it up to regen temperature, which in our case is 1,112 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm not sure what that is in Celsius. For those of you watching in more civilized countries that use the Celsius system. But yes, then it goes in, we hold it at that temperature for 8 hours, and that really does, anything that's left in there is absolutely burned out. And after that, we ramp it back down until things are safe to handle. And it goes back into the air blast cabinet, where we repeat the air knife, the compressed air, and vacuum to get any of that minute, microscopic particulate matter out. So when it goes on the truck, we want that DPF to be as good as new, or darn close to good as new, so that if somebody had that DPF on the truck for 200,000 miles, and if they use the truck in the same way and nothing goes wrong with the engine, that it's going to last 200,000 miles. I don't want to clean a DPF and then clean it again at 70,000 miles. I mean, that's, we want that thing to act like new. So yes, we use water, and we do it on all of them. Okay, cat loader, new everything, basically, still getting face plug codes. Any idea? Cat certified repair. In fact, let me just glance over here, see if anything is. But no questions coming in via comments here. But I would, again, make sure you've got a clean air filter. Make sure you don't have low compression in one or more cylinders, and make sure you don't have an injector that's stuck and getting funky. Again, it might be something as simple as just getting 4 bottles of the Clean Air Fleet additive, filling up those tanks with diesel, double dosing the tank. I mean, run it at a higher ratio, a double ratio initially. If you have a Davco, fill that up with some of the additive, run it for a few seconds to get until you see the additive, the fuel and additive being pulled out of the Davco. Let that sit in your injectors. You might just have a stuck injector, or you might have something to do with the engine control module is not managing the injectors properly. But there's something going on that thing's face plugging, or it could just be operator error. Maybe it's calling for a regen and people are bypassing it. But I would definitely disconnect the inlet to the DPF system. So you just have the bare downpipe from the turbo, and do a snap acceleration, a snap opacity test, which is the one I call it. There's other words for it, I would suppose, but basically disconnect the inlet so you have the raw pipe coming down from the engine, one of you is down by that pipe looking into the, looking into the hole. Someone gets up in the cab, starts it up, and pedal to the metal, punch it, and see if it's rolling coal. See if it's something where, because it could be something where either and you're just getting a cloud of black or gray smoke coming off of that thing, which tells you that it's overfueling and got an injector issue, or it runs pretty clean, but then it kind of goes, ah, kind of coughs a little bit and poop, and out comes the soot. Um, so, it's got to be something in the engine, or everything's fine in the engine, but the thing isn't run balls out, um, and is not getting hot enough to fully passively regen everything. So that could be the stuff. But I would say shameless plug, and shout out to Clint and Kurt from Clean Air Fleet. I'm going to go grab my bottle yet again and hold it up and say, Clean Air Fleet, run that baby. And also, the 1 micron filters also do work for hydraulic fluid as well. In fact, it's even more important for the hydraulic system than it is for the rest of it to really keep that hydraulic fluid clean. All right, what else do we got here? All right, we got so here's Brian's thing. So he was getting his oil change at 10,000 miles, cost $550. And so the filtration system cost about $1,100-$1,200. So all he has to do is not have to change his oil twice, which is 100% true, and it paid for the system. So that thing's going to be paying dividends long in the future. And what did you find in the Western Star with the new system? We did not have any DPF efficiency faults. In a DPF efficiency fault, it normally comes up, and every manufacturer has kind of a different term for it. And I'm used to NOx efficiency, so DPF efficiency kind of had me confused for a minute. But that simply means how efficiently is the DPF filtering the exhaust. And if it should be more of like, I smell soot code. But that simply means that the truck is new enough to have a soot sensor. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, people, I think that started in 2017, where they had to have a PM sensor on the exhaust, particulate matter sensor. And that's what's sniffing the exhaust to see if there's any soot coming through. And if you're getting DPF efficiency, it means one of two things. One of them is that your DPF is cracked and soot is sneaking through it. The other is your soot sensor is bad. But if you're getting DPF efficiency, look at your tailpipe, see if there's some soot on it, and if you do see that, then yes, you have a cracked DPF and it's letting stuff through. And it's just telling you that, I smell soot. It's like a smoke alarm going off, smelling smoke. You're very welcome, my friend. It's my pleasure. And I would love to have Clean Air Fleet join me as a guest. The only thing is I don't have audio from the TikTok live, so you would be able to see them but not hear them, or you could hear them on TikTok but nowhere else. So anyway, what do you think about this format? We're live on TikTok, we're live on Facebook, we're live on YouTube, we're live on Twitch. I don't know why, but we are. So thank you so much for everybody who has been watching. But that Western Star I worked on, it turned out great. He was back on the road. DPF was fine. Now that was a Gen 5, Western Star, Gen 5 Freightliner, with a DD15, I believe. And again, I believe that the 5th generation Freightliners are being delivered with a fuel map issue that's causing these DPFs to crack. I only hope that people are getting that addressed. And if you do happen to have, anything, just when you bring a Freightliner into the dealership, just make sure they update all of your firmware on your ECM, your ACM, all of your CMs, your control modules, control units, whatever you might want to call it, so that you have the latest software. And that can avoid a lot of issues. I've seen some really sticky issues that appeared to be hardware related, and it turns out it was software related. Cummins will do that sometimes as well. Oh, American Iron, you're awesome. Thank you very much. I tell you what, like I said, anybody out there, I'll say it again, make your way to YouTube, find DPF Guys. You're going to go to youtube.com/DPF Guys. They'll take you right to our page. Please subscribe to our channel, and you can watch us live and everything else that's going on. Definitely check out the DPF Guys website because there's some great new articles on there. A new DD5 Gen 5. So there you go. So Larry, there you go. I would guess that the problem is that I have seen the DPFs cracked and the Gen 5 DD engines at 40,000 miles. I mean, that truck still smells brand new. 40,000 miles, the thing's barely warmed up. And the damn DPF's cracked over and over and over again. The Rider fleet will see that. And I believe it has to do with fuel mapping. And to solve that problem, like in your case, if you're getting DPF efficiency issues, if you have another soot sensor handy, swap out the sensor and see if the issue goes away. But I would bet you dollars to donuts that the issue is cracked DPF. Doesn't matter how many miles, even if it's really, really low miles, it will jack up the DPF. That soot will whistle through it. That soot sensor will go, I smell soot. And it will then trigger the DPF efficiency. So update the firmware, replace the DPF, problem solved. Hopefully it's still under warranty. And again, I'm saying fuel map, Larry. I don't know if it is a fuel map issue. That's just my suspicion. But it's definitely something that requires a software update. Yeah, coming back again with 30,000 miles, and I already did DPF, and the old one looked okay. You just wanna make sure that you really, you check that thing under with your tester to make sure that it's not breached and know what to look for. And then just look at the outlet side. And I tell you what, that's the easiest thing you can do is the inlet side, the dirty side is gonna be dirty. There's gonna be shit on it. And the and the outlet side should be just pristine. There shouldn't be any staining on it. It shouldn't look like, it just should look the same, look like a brand new DPF on the outlet side. If you do see what looks like, especially that Gen 5, you know what happens? Like if you got a roof leak and you look at your ceiling, you'll see that kind of light brown circle. That's what I see with the Gen 5s. And they seem to crack inside and let the soot through. And they really shouldn't. They're made out of, some of the most modern material, aluminum titanate, I think it is. I mean, that stuff is tough, but it's still that new Gen 5 is able to still jack it up. Oh yeah, definitely. If it's under warranty, just make sure. The problem we have is that, let me put my tinfoil hat on. So the problem you have with this is, obviously a big company like, Daimler, Freightliner is going to have, they're going to have forecasts. We're going to build this many trucks. We're going to need this many DPFs. We're going to have this tiny percentage of failure. We need to have a few more on the shelf. And the minute that someone throws a wrench into that math, even if you're under warranty, you might be sitting on your hands waiting for a new DPF to come in for about 3 weeks. We do have an aftermarket that will be available in a few weeks. So if you happen to have one that is cracked, even if it's under warranty, if you don't want to have a truck sitting around for 2, 3, 4 weeks waiting for a replacement part to come in, give us a call. We should have one for you aftermarket soon, very, very soon. Man, I thought, Larry, honestly, I thought that they actually had a fix for this. because something's breaking those DPFs. There's no excuse for that. And it's happening at 30,000 miles, like you're experiencing, 40,000 miles that I've experienced. Um, so something doesn't smell right. Um, and, luckily it's just a DPF to replace it. But I'm wondering, again, I'm wondering if this is damaging the SCRs, and there's going to be sort of SCR issues with those Gen 5 one boxes, which are a really nice design. They've simplified them. They're smaller. They only have one DPF. Um, the cost of the clamps has gone up, but you only need one, so it's still less expensive. Um, okay, the fuel map GHC 17. Yeah, you've got the inside skinny on these things. Well, I tell you, Larry, I'll send you a T-shirt if you could figure out the minute that you know what's going on with these Gen 5s, you let me know, and I'll send you a Smart Boy DPF Guys T-shirt. How is business? Is it slow because no one has money? Um, oh man, it's we go, I don't know if we're a bit slow because of just the seasonal variations. We're generally just really going nuts starting in February, March, April, May, June, July, and then we start to wind down in August, kind of through the end of the year, and then it picks back up again. Um, I've just always what I've seen since we started here, in 2019. Um, and I don't know. I mean, the whole deal is when people are when freight rates are up and everyone's out there running like crazy. Um, sometimes business slows down then because they just don't have time to take the trucks off the road. And then when things slow down, that's when they come in to get their maintenance done, or they simply park their truck and don't get anything done to it. Um, let's see. You know, I think the slowdown in business that we experience is just strictly based upon the calendar, which is fine with us. It's given us some time to really, tighten up our processes, get things organized. Our shop is looking really good. Um, Brian Herrera, my man, if you're watching, shout out to you. Brian and Carlos have done a great job organizing the shop. I'm really happy with how things are looking at DPF Guys. And so anytime we have downtime, we use it to make things better. Um, Larry, you just said, looks like replacing six pack of injectors with new injectors, not reman injectors, is fixing the issue. So, okay, maybe it's just a buggy run of injectors. Um, Larry, I'd be really interested if there's something to do where you could look at the lot number or something on the injectors and say, oh, injectors made, because they might have just, someone might have been slipping when they're making injectors. I don't know. Um, have you seen the Edison Motors truck? Um, have I seen the Edison Motors truck? I've seen pictures of it, but I haven't actually seen it in person. I've heard cool stuff about it though. Trucker World, thanks for liking the live. Any of you out there that wouldn't mind tapping me in the face a couple of times to give me a heart on the screen, I would much appreciate it. Really? So you're actually one of the early investors. I tell you what, there's going to be some cool stuff happening here. I tell you what, I'm very interested in learning more about how that unfolds, and if there's anything that you could share with me. Again, what's your name, Matt, Matte, with boxes in between it. Um, yeah, I mean, I would love to actually, if you're kind of an expert, or if you're a geek about the Edison truck, I would love to have you join me on one of these live sometime. Um, so Diag software, it varies. Diesel laptops, and then with Cummins Insight on that, the and then another mechanic uses JPro. Um, but I mean, basically, a number of different ways of doing it. Um, and sometimes it does, it's kind of bubble gum and baling wire with some of these things, because you have a truck that doesn't want to talk to it quite right, and you get that to work. Um, but diesel laptops and J Pro. You know what? I just the right to repair thing, that is a big deal. I was just watching a video about how terrible John Deere has been with the owners of his tractors, and I think that's just criminal. Um, if if you have a product that you own, you should be able to repair it. And again, there are going to be people that will always go back to the dealer, always people go back to John Deere. But if someone wants to repair it on their own and accept the consequences of that repair, you jack something up and then it ends up costing you more, so be it. But I tell you what, man, there's nothing worse than, oh, I can't do anything with this because it's a software related issue. You should be able to take care of the equipment you own. Um, Not just because, of money, but because what happens is, if John Deere goes out of business and now you're stuck. And I think you should always have access to that. Now, maybe you're not going to be able to get the latest and greatest software for your truck because you get that from the dealer or whatever it might be, but you should be able to keep a vehicle running once you own it. Yeah, that's a perfect idea. There's actually the there's an APU that uses all Toyota and Honda parts, so you can literally buy the parts at the Toyota dealership. Um, Larry asked a good question, which is, are you guys doing the Diag or do you use a local shop to collab with? So we're a big believer in collaboration. In fact, if you're one of my LinkedIn connections, I just did a post about my hummingbird feeder and about how I think it's so crazy that my hummingbird feeder can feed up to six hummingbirds, and the amount of juice in there, the nectar, could feed six hummingbirds for weeks. And so why don't they just land and drink and just get along? Oh no, one of them will land, take a sip, and then someone comes in and dive bombs that bird and get away. It's and instead of just working together and not wasting energy, that's how I like to run my company. Is I like to work with people whenever possible. So yes, while we would definitely be capable of doing the diagnostics, um, I'm much more comfortable having to collaborate with a mechanic so that, um, if they find out, because a lot of times people come in and say, "Hey, my DPF is bad," um, and it might seem to make sense to say, "Well, why don't I should just be like, yeah, it's bad. Let's clean it." But no, I'll tell people that it doesn't sound like that's your problem, and it's not that I don't want to take your money. I don't want to take it unless I'm taking it for the right reasons. So if your DPF is dirty, I'll totally clean it. But if it's not dirty and it's just a sensor issue or something else is going on, then, get it cleaned when you need to get it cleaned. Don't get it cleaned beforehand. Or it's dirty, it doesn't need to get cleaned, but there's something else going on that's actually an upstream issue. So that's where I really love working with the team of mechanics that we work with, independent guys, but wonderful people, smart people. Shout out to James Boshears, by the way, and Cesar Escoval and others that have helped our customers keep running. So ideally, I would work with a mechanic because that way, if diagnostics, we did the diagnostics, we'd be able to say, oh, we found something wrong, but it's not related to our area of expertise. So now you still have to go to a mechanic. Um, the uh, and kind of jury's out as to whether we should start doing diagnostics or not. I've often thought it might be nice to be able to offer that as a service and pull the diagnostics and then be able to refer them to a mechanic and have all the information. But long story short, we collaborate with mechanics and absolutely love doing it, and it's mutually beneficial. And there's plenty of nectar to go around to all of us hummingbirds, and so I would rather have us all eat our fill at the same feeder than to fight with each other for every little sip. So that's my answer on that one. Man, I tell you what, I'm very interested in the Edison. Thank you. And really, it, we've got enough to keep us busy, and I would rather, you know, help a local mechanic gain some customers and have him help me gain customers, and just really be good at what we do. And I'm not, I'm not ashamed about what we don't know. I'm very proud of what I do know. And I know more stuff thanks to you, thanks to the people that watch, thanks to the people that share their knowledge with me. But it's really allowed us to really get good at our jobs and get better at it every day. So thank you. That's a very kind word. I really appreciate it. So how you liking this so far? Anybody watching me on Facebook or YouTube? How do you like snooping on my TikTok live? Um, and like I said, if somebody wants to leave a question in the comments on YouTube or on Twitch or on Facebook, I will see them pop up over here, and I'll gladly answer them. Um, if anybody does want to text us, you can text us at 404 404-999-1361. Sounds like I'm speaking German. 999. 404-999-1361. Write that down. But all right. Celebrity diesel mechanic. Oh, man. I didn't know I knew a celebrity diesel mechanic. All right. Just changed outer NOx sensor and got another code. After treatment, SC1 conversion efficiency. Aha. Aha. You got to tell me. You got to tell me what truck that is. If that's a 2015 Freightliner Cascadia with a Detroit engine and a one box, I think the news is you need a new one box. If it's something else, then it's probably something else. 2020 Freightliner, I assume. Alex, would love to hear more from you. Do me a favor, send me a direct message, or if you want to text us, do so at 404-999-1361. And we've got some new locations opening. And so, Alex, I'd want to know where you're at and if you're close. Man, I would, on that 2020, see if there's any saved data for SCR temperature spikes, and anything like that. You could have, um, buildup of DEF crust, DEF, whatever you want to call it, that's causing your DEF dozer to not spray efficiently and properly. Um, you could have a DEF pump issue. You could have a DEF quality issue. I would definitely see what I did there. I would pull a sample and use your handy dandy refractometer to see if your DEF is good. It probably is, but it's always good to check. And then I would do a DEF delivery test, make sure that it's shooting enough DEF in there, so many milliliters per minute, 150 milliliters per minute, whatever that might be. And then check to see if you've got a bunch of crud built up around the DEF dozer. It could just be a DEF delivery issue or a DEF quality issue. Again, DEF is like beer and wine. It does have a shelf life. And you need to make sure that it's very picky. You can actually, the urea levels need to be 32.5%, and the rest is 67.5% deionized distilled water. So make sure that your DEF is good. If you happen to be getting DEF from, like a bulk tank at a fleet, maybe your DEF is bad. Yeah, I'm if you have a one box, a 2020, the one box should be good, but I mean, they can go bad too. All right, let me take a look over here and see what comments I've got coming in. Anybody here, did anybody listen to me and jump over to YouTube and subscribe to our YouTube channel? If not, get on it. Do that. But otherwise, I'm getting hungry, and I think I think I'm gonna grill a sausage or two. Something like that sounds good. I don't have any buns. Um, I just went to Costco today and got some good eatables. Larry, thank you for sharing that. So who left that message? Access USA TRS tires TRS. Read Larry Shorb. He needs to run a low temp NOx verification test. So what I recommend is that you run a low temp NOx verification test. That's what I would do, and just see what's going on, because you obviously don't want to have to replace anything unless you need to, and it's way too easy for the dealership to go, "Oh, need a new one box," and you may need to replace some components, and it may cost a lot of money, but hopefully not. And it could be something really stupid, and something really simple. And so let's make sure that we try all of the inexpensive stuff first before we start digging into replacing expensive parts. Yeah, and Larry, you could do a key on engine off and see. Of course, the NOx sensors I don't think start reporting until they get up to temp, um, but yes, I mean they should read similar to each other, and then eventually the what do you want to see, about a 90% reduction in NOx? So if you're reading 300 parts per million on the inlet, you should be reading 30 parts per million on the outlet. It varies by truck, obviously, but you want to see a noticeable reduction in NOx. And if everything is good, the NOx sensors are good and everything else. Um, and sometimes you'll actually see that the outlet NOx sensor will read higher than the inlet, which is nuts. Where's that NOx coming from? But it's because there's actually stuff being burned inside the SCR. It can even be the SCR itself is burning up and producing NOx. So Larry, yes, at least a 90% reduction. So whatever your PPM, your parts per million on the way in. So if you see 300 on the way in, you should see about 30 on the way out. Again, those are just kind of back of the napkin numbers, but that's what you're looking for. I'm scrolling through my stuff here. I kind of think I like how this worked. I don't know how anybody out there watching on YouTube and Facebook. Hello, friends. Anybody out there? Going back to TikTok here. I tell you what, when I look at my stats and it says you had 5 viewers, I'm actually pretty happy about that, but I am still no Mr. Beast, but I think I've got potential. Yeah, outlet high is usually either def buildup or SCR is bad. Um, so if you actually, got a NOx sensor where you can verify the inlet and outlet are reading the same thing initially, so the NOx sensors are probably good, but all of a sudden you get, literally the SCR, the one box or the SCR is producing NOx. It basically means it's burning itself up inside, or you've got a huge buildup of DEF, which we can get out. But if everything's working well, you're going to see the inlet NOx and the outlet NOx should be, the outlet should be 90% less than the inlet, plus or minus. Thank you, Larry. That's awesome. Coming 6-7, welcome aboard. Oh, the DEF umbrella, the DEF awning. That's a snipe hunt. That is a placebo. That's designed just to get you out of the dealership. Um, if you got a 2014, 15, or 16 Freightliner, um, and you try putting in a DEF awning, it's just a placebo. It's just designed to take 2 aspirin and call me in the morning. I wouldn't bother with a DEF awning. Hey, I've been live for 90 minutes. So tap me, give me a like because I've been doing this for 90 minutes and I need to drink some water. Hang on a second. Cheers. Worldwide Diesel, thank you for liking the live. If you're following me on TikTok, awesome. Thank you. If not, please do so. Um, is it good or bad to do a forced regeneration every week? That is, I'm going to post this up here. Um, thank you. I'm glad you follow. I really appreciate it. Um, Larry Shorb, what do you think about this question? I, it's probably doesn't hurt anything. It does, you're going to be burning more fuel. You're going to be running your engine harder than you probably would normally. Um, I know in some use cases, such as the diesel vehicles at the airport, they will force regen those on a weekly basis because they're out putting around all the time. And you may not know this, but all of the vehicles on an airport tarmac need to be running continuously because that way, if a plane comes cruising in from somewhere, you can get down and hammer down and get out of there. You don't have to start it. So those trucks run all day, all night. When they do regen them periodically. I would say that if you have um, if you're doing off-road stuff, doing a force regen periodically wouldn't be a bad idea. I guess I would be curious to see what somebody who does this for a living, mechanic would say. Um, again, I think uh, I would recommend not doing it because it's just putting more duress on the entire system than is necessary. Um, and it's going to burn more fuel, and so I don't think doing it weekly makes sense. um if the truck will automatically go into a passive regen, um it's going to be kind of just personal preference at that point. I would probably recommend not doing it, simply because of the additional fuel you burn, and I don't know if you get any good results from it. Yeah, I mean, just do a forced regen when it's in PM or service. um do it, a few times a year versus once a week. Huh, you know what? I heard a forced regen stored at ECM should be looked for in buying a used truck. That's a wise idea because somebody who's smart and is trying to sell a truck that is maybe problematic, they're going to do a forced regen, and that would be like gingering your horse, which is a real thing, by the way. Gingering your horse, look it up. It involves ginger and a horse, and apparently, when you insert fresh ginger into a particular horse's orifice, a horse orifice, um, it's rather spicy and will make a tired horse seem rather chipper. Um, Now, sometimes when we're running out of coffee, I'll think about that, but that's a whole other story. Yeah, because you see frequent regens, you have to say why, and that just means that you probably have a dirty DPF or you have something going on in the engine that's really coughing out a lot of soot, and they're trying to cover that up by regenerating all that soot out of there before they sell the truck. Bubba, welcome aboard. Thank you, Worldwide Diesel. Thank you for liking the live. Really appreciate that. It helps us out tremendously with the algorithm here. Hey, Bubba, I'm going to be I'm going to be logging off here in a couple of minutes, but I'd love to answer your question. What you got? Worldwide Diesel, thanks for the likes. Much appreciated. So we are located, DPF Guys currently is located in Atlanta, Georgia, right by the airport, South Atlanta, where Highway 85 and 75 cross over here, um, and not too far from the Forest Park or the state, Georgia State Farmers Market. Um, you can find out where we are by Googling DPF Guys. We're at 636 Cordell Drive, and our phone number is 404-999-1361. I tell you what, man, I'm you're awesome. I am just learning from all of you guys, and I'd love to share the information that I know and gain more as we go. Um, Bubba, what was your question? Uh-oh, 2016. Um, Brian Bond, are you still watching? Brian Bond, you out there? Um, the 2016 Cascadia was regenerated for 5 hours, still both lights blinking, couldn't finish. So, so that can simply indicate that your filters are just full. Because remember, and I've used this garbage can analogy, and I've got my garbage can right here. You see? And right now everything's in there kind of loosely, right? So if I didn't want to take this outside and clean it or dump it out, what would I do? I'd take my big fat foot and I would crush this all down. Make more space. And because it's Amazon packages and things like that, that would probably give me a decent amount of space. I can use it for another week or so. But eventually, uh, there's no more room. I can't stomp it down any further. No matter how much I stand on that thing, it's just simply full, and I got to take it outside and dump the garbage into wherever it needs to go, recycling, or wherever we put that stuff. So a regen is the same thing. It doesn't magically send the crap in your DPF to another dimension. It's still there. It just basically takes the stuff that it can burn away, turns it into gases. Those gases are then processed further downstream in your SCR. And the stuff that it can't burn away, the ashes, the metals from the oil, that sort of stuff, end up building up in your DPF. So your 2016 probably just needs to have its filters cleaned, maybe replace them because they've been on there for a long time, 8 years, or do the whole one box. But my concern would be if your truck is a early 2016, it technically is a 2015, and those 2015s, late 2014, all 2015, early 2016s had that issue where the one boxes are bad. Brian Bond, if you're out there, share some love with this guy. Let him know about your 2016 Freightliner. You may need a new one box, or everything's fine. You simply have filters that are full and need to be cleaned. So if it regens for 5 hours and doesn't complete, it's likely that you just have a DPF that's bad. Bubba, thanks for the rose. You are awesome. That's my first rose of the night. I can't believe I didn't get more. I've been pouring my heart into this. So you just might have DPFs that are, again, like my garbage can. I stomp it down, put more in it, stomp it down. Pretty soon, I can't stomp it down any further. So that's when you need to get your DPFs cleaned. So that's where I'm at with that. But Bubba, listen carefully about the symptoms. You've got a 2016. You may have dodged a bullet. You may have effectively a 2017, which means that your truck wouldn't suffer from this one box failure, or maybe the one box has already been replaced. But if you ever have an issue where the truck runs like a champ, if you're bobtail, or empty trailer on a flat road. But the minute you got 20, 30, 40,000 pounds on the back and you start heading up a hill, um, and the truck starts throwing codes saying A, it's going to say DEF quality. B, it's going to say SCR efficiency. C, it's going to say NOx efficiency, or some combination thereof, maybe all three of them, whatever it is. Just you need a new one box. It's just if you've got that year of truck and have those codes, the 99.9997326.8% of the time, you're going to need a new one box. And I'm not just saying that because we sell them. I wish we didn't have to sell them, but yeah, there's you need a new one box, and there are definitely options for you. Not cheap, $8,000, $8,500 to get a new one box on that truck. But far better than the $21,000 that they might charge you from dealership, and 3-year warranty, et cetera, et cetera. I do have people I've helped, and I can definitely give you some references there. But hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully you just have DPFs that are full, much like my garbage can will be full in the next week or two. So there you go. That's my story, and I am sticking to it. I'm looking to see if I tell you what, the chats on YouTube and Facebook have been so quiet. I don't know why, but they have been. Anyway. Oh, thank you for the gift. Thank you so much. I so much appreciate it. Oh, DEF quality. Bubba, I'm sorry. I hate to tell you this, but I'm not going to take your money for a DPF cleaning because it would just be throwing good money after bad. But I would, Bubba, if you could please send me a direct message or text me at 404-999-1361, 404-999-1361. And what I'll ask for is your complete VIN, all 16 digits. I think it's 16 digits. Maybe it's more. If you can, and then we can match you up with a new one box and let you know what it's going to cost and get you taken care of. You can come to Atlanta. We can take care of you here. We can ship a new one box to you. We'll pay the shipping anywhere in the country other than California. So if you're in California, you're going to have to jump across the border and pick it up in Reno or something. But you're probably going to need a new one box. Just letting you know. If you have those symptoms in that year of truck, I wouldn't even bother investing in NOx sensors or anything else because you're going to need a new one box. Now, if you did get a NOx sensor, you can reuse it on the new one box. That's the good news. And for anybody listening, you have to qualify for it. It's not too bad. It's kind of like qualifying for a credit card, but we do offer 6-month no interest financing through Synchrony Bank. And so if you do need a new one box and want to stretch that payment out over 6 months, use someone else's money, if you qualify, I can, let me know if you want to get the link to see if you qualify. And then once that's paid off, you can then use it as a regular credit card for repairs or whatever you want. So I do not have a shop in the Northeast yet, not yet, but hopefully soon, Bubba. Now, if you're in the Northeast and you have a mechanic and they, that you want us to ship you a one box, we can totally do that. And like I said, we'll pay the shipping. And we can, you basically get yourself into a brand new one box, oftentimes for half the price of what the dealership would quote you. So, or, make the trip, down to Atlanta and have us take care of you there. But the phone number, please, is 404-999-1361, 404-999-1361. Text or call us, and we'll do everything we can to help you out. Heck yeah, Lori, let's do it. So what is the outdoor price in a one box? We sell them fully loaded, and if you would have seen me on Friday, I was fully loaded because I had that big margarita. Man, I had a headache the next day. And which means they come with brand new filters, clamps, gaskets. They do not come with sensors, but we can do that for you. Now, and you're going to be looking at, like I said, I'm going to go a little high on this. Let's say about $8,500 for a new one box, 8.5 grand, 9 grand, and that's going to be a complete one box. It'll come with fully assembled and tested with brand new filters, brand new one box, all new clamps, gaskets, the whole shebang. Will not include sensors. We can do that. We can quote you sensors as well, but a lot of times people will move their old sensors from the one box. I normally recommend replacing your temp sensors because a lot of times they don't want to come out. Um, but a lot of times when people get to this point, they've already replaced both NOx sensors. Reuse those if you can. But we can also sell you new sensors. We do recommend replacing the harness as well. Um, and the harness is only available via the OEM. So if we got you one, it would be from Freightliner. Um, the harnesses themselves vary in price. Like on the 2014, 15s, and 16s, the harnesses are real cheap. They're like $180, $200. On some of the newer ones, the harnesses are a little more sophisticated, have bigger connectors on them and things like that, and they can be a bit more expensive, 5, 6, $700. But out the door, one box shipped to you is going to be around $8,500, again, plus or minus, um, and somewhere in there. And that'd be fully loaded, 3-year warranty, unlimited mileage on that warranty. But keep in mind that our warranties are very, very good, but they don't cover the one box if it is damaged or destroyed in the future by something that goes on up in the engine, which is going to be injector failure, misfire, turbo failure, low compression, something going on in the upstream that does break it. But everything else is 100% covered. So I hope that helps. Larry, I hope you're going to be my Northeast location as well. 100%. 100%. So we will take your old one box and just scrap it, but we don't require a core. Um, we'll cut them apart and ship the DOCs to one company and the steel to another company and get a couple $100 for it. But we don't require the core, so you can take it and scrap it yourself if you'd like. Justin, I'm good. Um, so that is a great price. Why not ship to California? Um, it just has to do with Gavin Newsom and California being awesome. So all of the aftermarket after treatment products are 100% compliant with EPA and federal regulations. And for whatever reason, California does not allow aftermarket after treatment parts to be sold in California. Now they can be used in California. They'll pass all the smog tests, they'll pass all the emissions, but if you're in California, we need to ship it to a warehouse location across the border in Reno, wherever wherever's easy for you. You pick it up there and mule it across the state lines, put it on, you'll be 100% cool. Why that is anybody's guess. It could be because the OEMs have a bit more sway in California than the aftermarket people do, or it could be that California themselves has to do testing of these things and they don't want to spend the money on testing, the OEM products plus, 5 different aftermarket products, even though the aftermarket products have been tested and comply with all the EPA regulations. That's just the cost of living in California, I guess. Good weather, beautiful views, and onerous laws and high taxes. My truck is the DD8. It's a 23 Freightliner. Haven't had to regen it. Good. Justin, I would say use an additive and keep on trucking. That DD8 is definitely an oddball, 200 and some horsepower, 4-cylinder. But it's good. It's good. It's just that even the Freightliner dealerships will often not have the parts for that thing. So take care of it. Keep your filters changed. Think about using an additive. Oh, I know one. In fact, you might have heard of Clean Air Fleet. Smells like success. But Oh, 6-cylinder? I thought the DD8 was a 4. I thought there was a 4-cylinder DD something. Might be a DD5. I don't know. There's a weird little 4-cylinder one. Cool. Rock on with your bad self. DD5. There you go. DD5 is a 4-cylinder. There you go. See? I can learn things. Yeah, it's otherwise you'd have the Cummins 6.7, and that 6.7 is a great engine, but the injectors shit the bed at 250,000 miles. If you got a Cummins 6.7 in a Freightliner M2, don't argue with me. Just get new injectors at 250,000 miles. Trust me. Yeah, DD5, DD8 are going away. Cummins has just done too good of a job with a 6.7. I don't see them often. I might have only seen 3 or 4 in my entire career, but it's always fun. It's kind of a unique little a little ditty. Tell you what, Ocala 1990. Wasn't for you, I wouldn't be able to do it. So you're welcome. I appreciate, all of your feedback and everything. It means a lot to me. Thanks for liking the live. Tell you what, my friends, I'm going to boogie off here. Now, again, I am broadcasting this on YouTube and Facebook. So what I'm going to do here is you'll be watching me for a minute. But if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, we are going to sign off. And thank you so much for watching. If you need to get a hold of me, text or call 404-999-1361. 404-999-1361. Give us a text or a call. We're always here to help. And remember, Clean Air Fleet fuel additive can make a huge, huge difference in how well your truck runs and for how long. In the meantime, I'm going to be wrapping up here on TikTok, but thanks a bunch for watching, and I'll see you again next week. I'm not leaving TikTok just yet.
The skills, the might to get your truck rolling clean into the night. Throttle up, feel that clean airflow. Our service so slick, your ride seals the show. DPF Guys, we got the fifth so fine. Hit the road with confidence, now the world's your shrine. Bring in that rig, let's get on track. Breathe easy with no sooty black.